Hello, I'm Dave Slater, Minister of Gartcosh and Glenboig, and I'm stood here in the wooded area in the nature reserve between Glenboig and Gartcosh. Formerly there was a house as part of this whole estate before the coming of the heavy industry. Indeed, there are still tales told about Woodnuke House and the Grey Lady that some claim to have seen. But there's little left of the building, just these few stones and bricks, not much else. I wonder what it must have felt like to be the last owners selling up to the ironworks firm and either passing away or moving out, leaving behind the building that would no longer be the family home. Or if we can use our imagination to think about being almost the fabric of the house itself, what it would be like to recognise that the local landscape had been changed by factory and by smoke, to recognise the emptiness of no longer being lived in, and looking ahead to a future of dereliction or even demolition. Yet so many decades later, the place is transformed. The works, of course, grew, developed, changed hands, but are now gone. The woods are a place for children to play, searching for fairies, for nature lovers to spot newts, deer, birds of all kinds, dragonflies, foxes, for photographers to come out and get that brilliant shot and indeed be published in the local papers, for folk to run, walk, jog, cycle for leisure and pleasure, or as a transport journey towards and from the railway station. Despite what has happened around it, this area is a haven. It's been well used this last year in particular. At the 6th hour, or noon, darkness came over the land until about the 9th hour, about 3 p.m. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Despite knowing what was ahead of him, Jesus had, of course, foretold his death to his disciples. At the last, here he was hanging on the cross, and his cry of anguish was one that expressed his deepest emotions at that moment, using the words from Psalm 22. That God the Father, who'd been with him through everything, here on the cross had to forsake or abandon him, to break that link between Father and Son. It was all part of the plan that he himself had told his disciples about. He would go through the darkest of moments, yet in a short while would be resurrected and eventually ascend to the Father's side. That didn't make it any the easier, I'm sure, to be fundamentally separated from the God of whom he also said, "I and the Father are one." Perhaps for some of us, this last year or so, we have felt abandoned by authorities, by family, by friends, by church even by God himself. Yet the psalmist in that same psalm would also go on to write about how "in you I trust, I'm not disappointed," to declare praise and faith in God. Jesus would go on to be spectacularly reunited with his friends and disciples. Many of his followers would see him thereafter. Even an abandoned house and estate has had a transformation into a place of restoration, recreation, tranquility when it's not blowing too hard. May God bless you. And if you're in that place of abandonment or feeling desolate and derelict, may he restore you as he has restored many people throughout history and redeemed many situations. God bless. And when it comes, happy Easter.